Okay, so I'm Sam Browne. I work with Phil. Everybody's talked with Phil a bunch. Jake also referenced Phil's talk. This is advancing quickly without me touching it. I lead the Sandia ASC DevSecOps Initiatives program, or team. This is a ASC program-wide initiative to bring in new DevOps kind of ideologies and synthesize them across the different ASC teams at Sandia. Phil is also my team lead in my other role, so it's an interesting dynamic in that we each lead each other's different work. Yeah, that's the best way to put it. So what I'm going to present is an organizational approach to Spack engagement. This is a story about Sandia's investment in Spack, or recent investment in Spack, expansion of our investment in Spack, and why we're going about doing it. So this is probably pretty obvious to a lot of others at different sites, but why does Sandia need to invest in Spack? We use it very heavily. Installing scientific software is a really complicated problem, and Spack makes it a lot easier, if not easy, because it is a really complicated problem space to live in. But we decided that we wanted to propose Sandia taking an institutional investment in the direction of where Spack was going to help cover our use cases. With money behind it. That's really kind of the key effort. This is similar to what Sandia does with, and some of the other labs do, with efforts to the C++ Standards Committee, and with the transition of Spack to a governance-based leadership model. This was something that we thought was a really timely coincidence for this effort. And we also want Sandia teams to collaborate more regarding Spack. Spack has a perceived or real, that's debatable amongst some people, pretty steep learning curve at the beginning, and we wanted to try to reduce that for our member teams. Strategies to buffer against what Spack is missing for our use cases, and helping encourage teams to take a broader view on Spack than I'm going to write this wrapper that does the thing that I need for my project, and it's not really usable in the general case. So what does this look like? This is developing a lot of opt-in tooling with a focus on interfaces. The operational part is the part over on the right of this slide, where individual projects will frequently create usually a shell script to do something that they need with Spack. We want to convert those to Spack extensions as much as possible. We find that to be a much more sustainable and maintainable ecosystem. And then as those become more used across teams in Sandia, they're more shareable as Spack extensions. This is a pretty affordable part of the change, and sharing them internally is not too bad. Once we decide that they're hardened for developer use, we can see benefit to sharing them with the wider Spack community. That's where the more expensive effort comes in, into upstreaming them into mainline Spack. But we still want to do that, ideally with as much of the extensions that we develop as possible. How are we organizing this? So over here on the right, we have a bunch of the representative spread of a bunch of our ASC teams coalescing around common tooling, generating that common tooling, and then moving it into Spack mainline through this secondary effort. We want to increase collaboration across our different DevSecOps groups and reward it by upstreaming things that they really want into Spack and making it easier for them to use the product, and taking a larger seat at the table for Spack governance. So the core team for this effort consists of Phil, Matt, Joe, and Jake, 3 of whom are here today. There's been a lot of ramp up going on this year. Jake gave you a good view of some of the technical deep dive that I've got as a laundry list of fixes here. We're tracking all of that activity on the Spack GitHub with the SNL core team label for visibility purposes. Leadership of Spack, I don't know if we're holding on these 2 features for version 1.0 still, because I didn't see them on Greg's slide, but I know that they are. We want them in 1.0, I know, so I don't know if it's holding. But Spack leadership assigned both of these tasks to different Sandia. We have them assigned to different developers on the Sandia team effort. One is stateless Spack. This is a common request, very common request at Sandia, of I want to just pip install Spack or apt install Spack. For some reason, people really don't like typing git clone, and they want to share, and they want to share installations amongst themselves sometimes for various technical reasons. And then the second one is binary provenance for Git versions. In particular, this contributes to the ability to use binary caching for versions of packages that are changing more frequently than static releases. So frequently, if a developer is pulling the version from Git, we can cache that in the binary cache and then pull it back out for other developers. And then finally, there is a Sandia seat on the Spack Technical Steering Committee. Phil occupies that role, so that's another good demonstrar of how this is working. As far as codes and common tools, Spack adoption at Sandia has grown rapidly. That's partly displayed I think in the survey results. A lot of those made a lot of sense to me. So Spark and Allegra team are fully Spack driven. They use Spack for everything, developing their own product and all of their upstream dependencies. Sierra is migrating from using Spack as a TPL provider, it has for several years, to a full orchestrator for its multi-package ecosystem. The Ramses project and the Trilinos project are both still using it as a TPL provider, but we're growing their use cases accordingly as we go. Trilinos in particular is undergoing a really heavy refactor of its package in Spack based on the Sierra monolithic example. That's Phil's talk tomorrow at 4:40 if anybody's interested, using one repository with a number of different Spack packages. And a bunch of the different smaller codes at Sandia range somewhere in between. We got a lot of feedback on this overall. Spack is more mature than we thought. I find this one interesting because I think that is partly because of that perceived initial startup difficulty. Once they get past that, they say, wow, this has a lot of capability in general. I mean, it's not a ubiquitous opinion, but we've heard it a lot. Funding has led to a lot more visibility from this, especially with our management. This is now something that's discussed at a regular cadence with a large group of managers in our program, and they're very interested in how Spack is helping serve their teams and how we're contributing back to it. The common tools effort to get things coalesced within Sandia and then out to mainline Spack is still spinning up. It's not being really felt day to day yet, but we anticipate having some good progress on that before the end of the fiscal year. So some takeaways: Spack funding from our management is really exciting and empowering. We want to make the tool better. It makes a big difference for us, and being able to directly work on areas where we find it falls short is probably the best way to improve it for us. People have a very wide range of feelings about Spack. Organizing collaboration in this space is really difficult, largely because of that prior statement. We're having, even internally, to kind of have long, drawn-out debate about what the best way to use it is and help educate different users as to how it can work well for their use cases. Making a lot of really good progress here. The adoption is, frankly, kind of astounding in the last year, even, but it's not a solved problem. Funding for this helps us lead with carrots because, again, we can say, you need this feature, we can help provide this feature instead of a thou shalt stick mentality. Primary reason for giving this presentation: this is a very lightly tweaked version of the actual slides we showed our management to propose funding for this, and hopefully it can help any of the other organizations that are interested in doing something like this. I don't know if everybody has funding models similar to Sandia and the rest of the DOE, but we had success doing this. It made us really excited, and I think in particular, Todd mentioned something 2 days ago that struck with me, is the ASC directive to help contribute to the open source community and open source where possible, right? And in particular, that right now we've got our management convinced that us contributing this external code is paying significant dividends to our internal processes. I think it's pretty easy to show that from a technical standpoint. Showing it to management through an effort like this is a step further and really helps with the overall engagement model. So I think that's all I have.